Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here. Today we're going to be reviewing episodes 3 and 4 of the Blu-ray release of Spearhead from Space. Now I've seen Spearhead several times, but this is the first time I've seen Spearhead on Blu-ray. This was actually sent to me by one of my subscribers, Ian, who also sent me Scream of the Shalka, which I have watched and reviewed. So I want to give Ian a shout out and say thank you. I really appreciate him sending this. I've always wanted to see it on Blu-ray, especially being the only classic Doctor Who that can be seen in true high definition, since it is the only classic Doctor Who shot entirely on film. Now, I talked about in my review of parts 1 and 2 about how I enjoyed the restoration work. It looks really good in HD, like you're watching, like say, a James Bond movie from the 60s. It looks really good. It being mostly location with not really a lot of studio work, being more location work, gives it a more real feel to it as well, which I really enjoyed. I also forgot to mention how much the flesh tones look better than on the DVDs. I've noticed even on the special edition of the DVD, something about the skin tone looks a little too bright, like on the faces. It looks much more natural here on the Blu-ray, and I really like that. I meant to point that out. Yeah, it's such a nice watch. You can see all the little wrinkles and details. It's like you're there. It's like you can just step through your TV and you're there, which is impressive on my TV, because my TV is like 9.5 years old. It's like 720p, like 41 inch or something like that, and it looks gorgeous just on that. I'm sure like a newer 4K TV, it would just blow people away and blow their minds. But it looked gorgeous just on mine. I also wanted to mention I liked the captain for unit, the brigadier's right-hand man. I can't remember his name. It starts with an M. Y'all know what I'm talking about. He was really good in this. I would have liked to have seen more of him. I kind of wished he had been a regular, because the actor playing him does a great job. And I liked the character as well. He seemed like a really good second in command. I kind of prefer him over Yates, actually. I've always been kind of middle of the road with Yates. I would have preferred him to have stayed. I liked him. The story, of course, I like. I love the scene when Liz steals the key from the Brigadier's desk. That look on her face when she notices the key and decides to take it, that little smirk, that little, if I do it, I get a whooping. I do it. You know, when she just smirks and takes it when he's not looking. And then when he goes to get on her about it, he's like, where's the key? And she's sitting there like, she has that look on her face like, what key? I absolutely love Carolyn John in this story. She's definitely high. It's my favorite. It's my favorite story with the way Liz is written. She never feels as fleshed out to me as she does here. Although her alternate Earth version in Inferno is written really well also. I think, again, I've talked about how much I like the performances in the previous review. All of the actors are on the ball in this. Nobody feels like they're phoning it in. Everybody feels like, nobody feels like an actor reading lines. They all feel like characters, which is good. I feel bad for Ransom or whatever his name is. That poor guy gets terrified out of his wits a couple times in this story, just to end up getting killed. That look of pure terror on his face when he gets shot, you feel bad for the guy. I really liked the guy playing kind of the head Auton, the one that was kind of in charge and controlling the human guy. The actor playing him he has this look like you can tell he's not human. Just the way the look he gets on his face, that there's something off about the guy. Like when the general goes to shake his hand and instead he puts his hands in his pockets and thanks the general for coming. And then the other guy, the one with the glasses that is human, shakes his hand instead. It's a nice little touch, because obviously being plastic, which I assume he's plastic, he wouldn't have any body heat. It makes sense when you think about it. It's those little details I love, and Bob Holmes is so good at them. I love me some Bob Holmes. I like the fact that the guy with the glasses does kind of come to his senses and tries to make a stand at the end before he gets killed. And I love the fact he doesn't give the doctor and Liz away when they're in the wax museum, when he finds them there, when the other guy's like, hey, come on. He just doesn't mention they're there, and they leave. So I like the fact he could have basically saved the Doctor and Liz's life right there, which was good. Has some nice set pieces there with the Autons battling unit. Not one of the best unit battles, of course, but it was fine for being small scale like that. I enjoyed it. The only really silly part is right there at the end when the Nestine is kind of strangling John, and it just looks kind of like, you know, octopus tentacles or something coming out of a box. Part of the reason that's a little wonky is John gets that kind of rubber face. You know, John has that look he gets sometimes, that kind of rubber face he gets, combined with that pertwee stare of his, that is a little hard to take seriously sometimes, let's be honest. So that's really the only part where I'm kind of like, other than that, the story doesn't really have a lot of what I would call wonky effects. And a lot of the clever way they do things work. Like, I love when the Autons all start coming to life and, you know, and attacking people. You know, the fact they filmed that on location in like the store windows with them waking up. And of course, since they couldn't actually break any windows, the window breaking had to happen off camera. But the way they do it is clever, and it works, where you see them all standing up and then you hear the glass breaking and people being alerted to the glass breaking. And then you see them where it looks like they're stepping out and it looks like broken glass on the ground. That was very clever, and it works. And then just watching them walk up, shooting people as people, that was really well done. That actually works really well. Even though it's not on a grand scale of, like, say, when it was done in Rose, it still effectively communicates what's going on in a good way that's exciting to watch, and it's a very visual action sequence. I can't talk today. A very visual action sequence. And there's that one shot right when that one Auton first walks up right before he fires, where he just and then shoots. You know, you see the hand drop and he shoots and the cop falls down, and that kind of starts it. I really enjoy that sequence a lot. So it comes together very well, and I like the fact that Spearhead is paced well. It's a good four-parter to start out, especially considering all of the other stories this season are 7 parts. And the only one that really juggles that well, in my opinion, is Inferno. Silurians, I think if you just cut one episode, it would have been fine. I think it's about one episode, maybe two too long. Well, at least one too long. But Ambassadors, of course, is way too long. While still being a good story, way too long. But Spearhead, I like that it's only 4 parts, just to kind of introduce everybody to what this new era of Doctor Who is going to look like. And as I mentioned in my review of parts 1 and 2, Spearhead from Space does a great job of introducing you to exactly what you're going to get out of the Pertwee era, because most of the staples of it are there. I mean, not the Master, of course, but basically the feel of his era is there. You know, an alien invasion. The Doctor is very much the way the Doctor is. Now you have Liz instead of Jo or Sarah Jane, but Liz is still great in this. And of course you have the Brigadier and unit and doing their unit fighting stuff. So you can really get a good feel for what you're going to get with the Pertwee era from this story. Plus it also works as a good kind of soft reboot of Doctor Who. I know they didn't really have reboots then, but it's a good soft reboot for the show, basically. Because it reboots the show the same way Rose did, which may be why they kind of went a similar direction with Rose, because Rose is very much like Spearhead from Space. Although I think Spearhead is better between the two. And then, of course, like I said, being in high definition, it looks fantastic. But it's really good. I love the location work. I love the cast. I love the story. It's Bob Holmes. And I like the Autons as a concept. And then we'd see them again a year later in Terror of the Autons. So, Spearhead from Space, episodes 3 and 4. What do you think of it? Comment down below and let me know. I also enjoyed some of the extras that were on this. I did watch the documentary about John Pertwee. It's about a little over 40 minutes long, talking about his life. And then I watched the Restoration featurette, which sadly is like under 3 minutes. I would have loved to have been longer. The Restoration stuff for 60s and 70s Doctor Who fascinates me. I just find it fascinating, especially the Pertwee era. That's actually my biggest disappointment probably on the collection range, is that we never get features talking about the actual restoration work they do for these box sets. I would love to see that, especially for stories where the original masters don't exist, like the Time Monster, the Mutants for most of its episodes, stuff like that, or a lot of season 8. You know, I would love to see a featurette where they talk about those episodes and talk about everything they had to do to get them looking as good as they did. You know, the process maybe for how they originally combined them on VHS, then what they had to do for DVDs to what they're doing on Blu-ray. I would love a feature like that, just talking about the restoration work. Get Chris Chapman or somebody to do that. Give me like a 45-minute feature on some of the different restorations that they've done for, you know, the VHS, the DVDs, all the way up to what they're doing on the Blu-rays. That would fascinate me. I would love to watch that. You could do a 30-minute featurette on each story, and I would love to watch that because that is just fascinating to me. As I was saying, don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button if you've enjoyed this video. I am trying to grow the channel to 1,000 subscribers. That's my goal for 2023. We're well on our way. I also have a Patreon if you would like to support me on that. There is a link to that down in the description below. My entry-level tier is only $2 a month if you want to check that out. I want to give a shout out to some of my top tier patrons, Stephen Crane, Colin Coney, and Finn Perkins. I appreciate their support, as I do the support of all of my patrons. And I want to give a shout out to Ian for sending me this, because I had been wanting to see it on Blu-ray, so I certainly appreciate him sending it. I do have a P.O. box down there if there is anything you would like to send me as well, Doctor Who related or otherwise. It is a sci-fi channel. I did get Red Dwarf in recently. I'm going to start on Blake 7 soon, and then after that I will probably move into Red Dwarf. Or I may even alternate them. Who knows? We'll see how that goes. So that's down there, and a link to my Amazon wish list is on there as well. I think I added the original Twilight Zone to that recently. That is another show I would love to do reviews for on here, because I love the original Twilight Zone, and I would love to do reviews for that. So I did add that recently. If you want to check that out. Most importantly, though, thank you for watching.